So my first question for you is, how did you hear about Year Up, and why did you decide, what were you doing before Year Up, how did you hear about it, and why did you decide to join?
Yeah, so what I was doing before Year Up, I worked at Wells Fargo Bank. I was at Wells Fargo for about 4 years. The way I heard about Year Up was through two alumni that actually went through the program. One was a close friend, and the other was actually a customer, would come into the bank every so often. As well as, could you repeat your third question?
How you heard about the program and why you decided to join.
Why I decided to join. I was ready for a change. I knew that I performed really well in the banking industry, but it was not something that I was passionate about. I knew that I always had a knack for how things worked in technology, and I felt like it was a great fit for me. So yeah, that was my driver that made me join Year Up. Was I was ready for a change. I knew that there was more to life than waking up every day just going to your 9 to 5. You can actually enjoy that 9 to 5. So yeah.
Great.
Why do you want to work in tech?
Why do I want to work in tech?
Yes.
Essentially, like I just said, I've always had a knack for how things worked. Ever since I was a kid, there's videos of me climbing up on top of dressers, taking cameras apart. When I was 6 years old, my dad bought me a little do-it-yourself radio to put together from Radio Shack. So I've always just had a knack for how things worked. And technology is always changing, so you always have to stay up to date on how it works.
Great.
What has been your biggest challenge or growth area during learning and development, and what have you done to overcome this challenge?
That's a great question. My biggest challenge, I would say, it would be time management. I live in Oakland now, and getting here every morning at 8:30, I always thought would be a challenge for myself. Luckily, knock on wood, so far I have not been late yet, but it was a challenge, and it still is a challenge for me. The way I overcame it is planning ahead, always planning ahead. So I take public transportation, and the first week I got here, I was getting to site at 7:45 just to make sure and, gauge it out from there. And now I know what's the first BART train I can get on to get here at a good time, and then what's the last BART train to where I'm going to be here at 8:30. So yeah, it was really just practice, trial and error. But like I said, knock on wood, it has been no error so far.
Great. So your internship descriptions, you reviewed those. Which one did you choose?
Project coordination.
Great. What makes you a strong candidate for project coordination?
Yeah, I feel like my skills that I have are transferable directly into project coordination. I have management skills, leadership skills, as well as I've had to make schedules and manage people and deal with details. And those are a lot of qualifications that are required for project coordination. As well as I enjoy it. I like being able to have my hands in a little bit of everything. And with project coordination, you're able to work with different groups and different teams. So yeah.
What will you do during your first week at internship to ensure that you're off to a good start?
Yeah. So I'll give you like a little snapshot, if you will. Day one, I would obviously arrive early, get set up with my manager. In the first day or two, if I weren't given any specific deliverables, I would just simply have a capture tool and observe how the businesses ran. After observing how the businesses ran, I would hopefully start getting tasks and things of that such, and I would start performing them as requested and as needed. After that first week of internship, and I'm comfortable with the processes that are in place, I would then start implementing my own ideas into it so that it can be innovative in the workplace.
Great. Tell us about a time that you felt you were going to fail and you worked hard to succeed.
Yeah. I would say, I'll keep it to Year Up.
Okay.
I've been talking about the bank a lot. Module 1, web development. I went into program knowing that it was essentially accelerated, but I did not know the first day, or if not the second day going into training, I was going to be assigned a final project to build my own website. So I immediately shut down in a sense. I thought, this is a lot to do. But I had to tell myself, this, A, it's doable, and B, you can do anything that you put your mind to. So just really having a growth mindset and keeping a positive attitude through it all helped me get through it, and it kept all negative thoughts out, which would have just hindered me getting the assignment completed on time. Yeah, it was still a challenge, but positive thinking gets you through it.
Awesome. Thank you.
What is your career goal immediately after graduating Year Up? And then fast forwarding 3 to 5 years after that.
Yeah. So immediately after graduating Year Up, ideally, in a perfect world, my internship would be project coordination within a tech company, so that I'm able to work with software developers, work with web developers, and like I said, I like to have my hands in a little bit of everything. So I would be able to be in project coordination, but still be in tech. After graduation, conversion, obviously. I would love to be converted for my internship, if not build a network to where I'm able to obtain a job after my internship. 3 to 5 years. I can give you an ideal. Ideally, it would be, I believe in growth, as well as loyalty within a company. So in a perfect world, the company that I am converted in, I fully enjoy, and I'm able to grow in that. So in 3 to 5 years, I would plan on being within the same company, but climbing the ladder and growing within that company.
Great.
Things change, but ideally I would, like to just continue to grow within a company and organization.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Assume you work at a tech company, this tech company where you're going to be converted and grow long term and be there forever. Your manager asks you to complete a high profile project. You have no idea where to start, and you are not trained on the project or the material that needs to be used. What do you do?
Yeah, I would simply follow escalation protocol. So I would first use my resources, which number one is Google. So I would do as much research regarding the project that I could. After doing my research, if I still needed further guidance or insight, I would reach out to my peers or colleagues that maybe have completed the task before or are more familiar with it. After that, if I were to still, for whatever reason, not be able to complete the task, I would bring in all of my documentation to my manager and say, hey, this is what I looked at on Google, and this is the research I found. I spoke with my colleagues, and this is what the information that I was provided from them. Do you have any more insight to help me complete the task?
What's your greatest strength in the workplace?
Yeah, greatest strength in the workplace. I would say it's my overall ability to adapt. I've worked in food, I've worked in banking, and now I'm essentially going towards technology. And every position and job that I've had, I've been able to adapt and perform well. So I believe that is my greatest strength, is just having the ability to adapt, because when you're able to adapt, you're able to perform. And that's what all employers want, is someone that can perform.
Is it more important to lead, or is it more important to compromise, and why?
Yeah. I believe, can I say both?
I don't. Sure. You can say whatever you want.
I believe both. I say that because a good leader has to compromise in order to show that they're listening to their followers. And a good leader listens to their followers and implements whatever changes are necessary. So yeah, it's ultimately, I feel like in any good situation that you have a strong leader or manager, they listen to their employees. Any successful organization, number one is customers and then employees, which means that the leaders are compromising and listening to the words of the employees. So yeah, that's why I say it's a little bit of both.
Great, thank you.
Okay, this is going to be your last question before we move on to the tech demo. And it's going to be, a scenario. So I want you to imagine that you are working at a tech company for your internship, and your manager has asked you to complete a high-profile project. So there are going to be some executives who will see your finished product. You have no idea where to start, and you did not receive training at Year Up to tell you exactly what you need to do on this project. What are you going to do?
Sorry, I think you just asked me that question.
Did you? Sorry, I was taking notes.
No worries. I can answer it again.
Okay, so let's do
We
a
don't
different one.
listen to the answers.
No, I know.
for
You guys are
the other.
multitasking.
Super embarrassing. Thank you for
No, no
calling me
worries.
on that. All right, I'm going to do another scenario. Did you do the one below that? No.
Sorry, I didn't know if I should answer it or not.
No, you did the right thing.
That was a trick, and you passed.
Testing my listening skills.
You can record an infraction for me later. Okay, you have a remote manager who's difficult to reach. Does this one sound familiar?
No.
So your manager's working in New York, really hard to reach, and you have significant downtime at internship. You just don't have enough tasks to fill your time. How are you going to address this?
Yeah. Very similar to the last task. I believe anytime you have a concern that needs to be addressed with management, you should always attempt to solve the issue yourself. So I would first look for tasks myself. Look for if things need to be inventoried, look for things to be inventoried. If office supplies need to be cleaned up, clean up office supplies. If I'm advanced within my internship and it's analyzing data and reports, I would take the initiative and analyze data and reports and do everything myself. If, for whatever reason, there were no tasks or extra work for me to do, I would find out what my colleagues or what my peers are doing. Look around the office and see, obviously, I'm not the only one with downtime. How are they filling their downtime? And I would just observe and take on tasks that my colleagues are doing. And if worse comes to worse and there's absolutely no tasks that can be done, I would contact my manager and just say, hey, these are the tasks that I've completed. Is there any additional work that needs to be done? And yeah, just follow up that way.
Great. Okay. So we finished the part with questions.